Thank you very much, Dr. Sarah. And I believe that the most inspiring thing about Faris Village is to build a model, and then you can replicate on this model and have it in other places. But this is the best thing that I see in this model. Okay, our last speaker before we start the panel discussion, we will have Dr. Sherine Fahmy. She will talk about sustainable communities using the net zero concept, the Golden Gate case study. Interesting title. Dr. Sherine, she's an adjunct faculty at the School of Science and Engineering at the American University in Cairo. She is a co-founder, board member of the Egypt Green Building Council, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of Eco Strategies for Sustainable Development. Please welcome with me Dr. Sherine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Third day of a very exciting event, and I hope I keep it that way. All right, so we're going to shift the focus now on sustainable communities using the net zero concept. And this particular presentation is going to be about the case study of the Golden Gate. Now, let's see what that's about. But generally, what I'm going to talk about here is four main points. I'm going to touch back again on why net zero. I'm going to remind us all once again about Egypt Green Building Council and Tarshid rating systems. Then I'll get into the case study of Golden Gate, and then a quick conclusion. All right, so the question of why net zero, I think we've discussed that before, but it's always a good idea to touch back on that. We have commitments towards our country and to the whole world. We have a commitment to meet our climate challenges by pursuing net zero as a way of life and a way of construction. It's in line with our vision of Egypt 2030, and basically this is what we've set out to do. And the reason we're doing that is because we all know now just how much of a burden the built environment is on our environment. So just some very quick statistics. We know now that our built environment causes, basically throughout the whole life cycle, about 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions that are causing very notable climate change around the world. We know just how much fresh water our buildings use, how much CO2 and other global warming gases that they produce. All that needs to be addressed by actions such as going for net zero and specifically for the built environment. So why green buildings, cities, and communities? Well, basically because we need to save energy, we need to save water, we need to save on materials. They aren't never-ending, they actually are expendable, and they can run out. And we need to leave something for future generations, and that's where sustainability comes in. And basically, we need to accelerate the implementation of our Sustainable Development Goals. We have signed up to these commitments to the whole world, and that's what we need to go for. This is what we do at Egypt Green Building Council. Our mission is to help our country and the whole world along with these sustainable goals, especially in the area of the built environment. And that is why we came up with Tarshid. We came up with our own green building rating system that fits in perfectly with the needs of our society, our country, our culture, that is easy to implement, cost-effective, and makes a whole lot of sense. We have different certification levels depending on how many points you earn on any given project, which is basically a reflection of how much work you really put into the project. And these levels range all the way from certified through silver, gold, and at the very top is platinum. The requirements of every project in order to earn Tarshid are divided into 3 different categories. So you have various requirements under the category of energy, you have other requirements under the category of water, and finally you have habitat. And habitat basically includes everything that really isn't energy or water. Things that have to do with the indoor air quality inside the building, things to do with the materials you bring into the building, things that you do in the site at the exterior of the building. So when we started out, so we established Egypt Green Building Council back in 2012, and we started coming up with Tarshid rating systems back in 2015. And similar to the story of other green building rating systems around the world, once you get into it and you start thinking about what the needs of different projects are, you gradually realize that you need to adapt your rating systems to more and diverse types of projects. So now the family of Tarshid rating systems has grown from when we started out in 2015 with Tarshid for affordable buildings, which was actually quite a really good and very effective rating system, and we certified projects with these that were very successful actually. The family grew, and now we have Tarshid for schools, Tarshid communities, Tarshid residential. We have healthcare coming up soon. We have Tarshid for Hayat Karima. Right now, and what I'm going to talk about shortly, is Tarshid communities. And after this session, we'll also touch on Tarshid Net Zero certificate, but we'll keep that for after this presentation. So Tarshid communities really is where we're going to talk about now in the context of the upcoming case study of the Golden Gate. So the Golden Gate. So here we are, right now at this very minute, we're right in the middle of this map. You can see the American University in Cairo in the middle of the map. And the case study we're talking about is a project right across the road from AUC on Road 90 South. And it's a very impressive project. It's quite large. It's almost a kilometer long along Road 90. And there you go. The Golden Gate is the project owner is Redcon for offices and commercial centers, ROC. And it's a mixed-use project. It's overall, it's 29 buildings. It's still under construction at the moment. So it's an ongoing project. It's still going to go on for a few years, but we've been working on it for quite a while, and it's still ongoing. And this is the actual scorecard, Tarsheed scorecard for the project. Now, let me just point out here that because this project is still ongoing, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's halfway through, it's less than halfway through. So this scorecard is in itself work in progress, because as all of us who've worked on such construction projects before, I'm sure know, a lot of decisions remain to be work in progress throughout a good stage of the project. So things can change, points can increase or can decrease, but this is pretty much where we are at the moment. So at the moment, and I have to put my eyeglasses on to see this one. All right, so at the moment, we stand at 72 points out of 100 points. Now, in Tarsheed language, that means we're going for Tarsheed Platinum. We're going for Tarsheed Communities Platinum. And this is a new community. So, of course, for Tarsheed, we can have a new community or we can have an existing community. This one is a new community. So it's just another quick look at this scorecard. So we can see that right now we are going for 15 out of the 26 energy points. All right? Yeah. We are going for 16 out of the 21 water points, and we're going for 40 out of the 52 habitat points. And when you add that to the 1 point that's way up there on the left on its own, which goes for when the project includes a green building accredited professional, which they do. So the total here is 72 points out of 100. So let me run us through just a few quick examples of what it is, some of the things that we're doing in this project. So, for example, let's take these are basically the points that we'll quickly go through. First one is in the energy section, passive energy design for the envelope. Now, we can all see that it's written up there that this is a prerequisite. So this is actually a mandatory requirement. It's not a choice. The project has to do it, and they don't earn points for it. There are no points written beside it. So there you go. And so what is the story with passive energy design? Well, basically, passive energy design is really clever design. It's good design. It's a difference between a good architect who knows how to design a building that saves on energy use through simply good design, and an architect who doesn't. So all sorts of things like proper thermal massing, proper fenestration of the building, the proper alignment of the building towards north and east and west, proper insulation. All of these and many, many more are elements of good passive solar design. Now, this is one of the things that the Golden Gate as a project did quite well. All of their buildings have more than 90% solar access. Now that helps to save later on energy by maximizing the use of natural daylight. More than 75% of the buildings have been oriented in the east-west direction, which is where they should be to reduce heat gain. Facades facing the south have reduced glazing, again to reduce heat gain. Overhangs and glare control measures on the windows have been included. Many aspects of passive design have been included there. Another credit here is what we call credit 04, and that is to do with reflective roofs. So depending on what you finish your roof with, that affects a lot of the solar heat gain that you get at the end. Because if you apply materials that have a high SRI, solar reflective index, then a lot of the sun's heat will reflect back away from the building, and the building will end up being cooler. So the Golden Gate was careful in choosing or specifying, I mean, it's still being constructed, specifying materials that fit this requirement. Credit E07 is roof insulation. And again, proper roof insulation helps the building to reduce heat transfer, protects the building from water damage caused by rain and moisture and leaks. And again, this is one of the goals of the project, by using the correct insulation. Solar water heaters is also part of the design here, and a large part of the needs for hot water for the project is going to be provided by solar water heaters. Let's take one or two examples from the water category. Gray water treatment and reuse. For Tarshid, that's credit W06. And again, here we have quite a sophisticated system planned for the Golden Gate, where gray water is going to be reused both for toilet flushing and landscape irrigation purposes. Water metering for leak detection, that's credit W07 in Tarshid. And that's quite an important one, because as many of my friends and colleagues have mentioned over the past 2 days, detecting water leaks actually saves everyone a lot of money and a lot of trouble in buildings. And it's something that's overlooked in many projects, but not in the Golden Gate. That's definitely part of the design, by installing digital water meters that would fit that purpose. Then let's go to habitat, and that's the last of our categories. One of the prerequisites, or it's actually prerequisite number 1, H01, is what we call construction activity pollution prevention, and particularly dust control, because that's our main concern here in Egypt, and it's in line with the requirements of the law of the environment for 1994. So our intent for this project and for Tarshid is that you have to see to it that you minimize as much as possible the amount of pollution that you cause simply by your construction activities. So from the moment you enter the site, the moment you start digging, you are already causing soil disturbance, and a lot of dust can be released into the air. That is what we need to keep under control. So there are various measures that we put in. For example, regular schedule of spraying water on loose soil, and stabilizing entrances and exits to the site so that trucks and other vehicles do not cause dust as they go in and out. All of these measures are closely monitored and documented, and they actually do help quite significantly in limiting pollution. Of course, these are just some of the measures. There are other things that we do. Credit H11, as another example, is what we call walkable streets, tree-lined and shaded. And basically, this is where we say, okay, if you want to be a Tarshid community, then we need you to, or you may choose, I mean, if you want that point, it's not a prerequisite, it's a credit, but you, it would be a good thing if you can provide in your design and your construction of your community what makes walking around the community a pleasurable and comfortable experience. So people know that if they go and walk, instead of taking their cars and emitting emissions into the air, if they walk, they'll find shades, they'll find trees, they'll find structures, they'll find easy roads to cross. They'll find continuous sidewalks to walk on, and this again is part of the design. The idea here is to encourage people to get out and walk as much as possible, run their errands on foot instead of taking their cars. Credit H13, which is internal transportation facilities, and that is basically, again, how easy are you making it for people to move within the community? Are you providing services at regular points where people can get transportation from one point to another? And while they're waiting for that, is there seated, shaded areas that they can use? Well, again, that is a very clear and quite an impressive part of the design, where, yes, there are definitely internal transportation facilities that are designed for people within that community. There are also external transportation facilities, which is credit H14. Because one of the points that are really good about this project is its immediate vicinity to the new monorail. And so it's right there. So external transportation facilities are available also, and it's easy to get from one point within the community to where the monorail station is. That is also taken care of and provided. Credit H17 is construction waste management. Now, of course, again, we've spoken throughout the past 2 days. My friends and colleagues before have pointed out just how much construction and demolition waste is generated in Egypt. And all around the world, really. But in Egypt, it is massive. It's 10,000 tons a day. Or in other words, almost 40% of our construction material cost is wasted. Now, construction waste management it shouldn't really be regarded as waste. It really should be regarded as a resource, which is one of the points we came up with from our discussions yesterday. And this is a credit that you can earn points for in Tarshid if you can prove that you were able to do that within the scope of your project. So, for example, here you can see, and there are many examples because, again, a construction project produces many different types of construction waste. But if we just take two simple examples here, as in the pictures provided, these are, of course, actual pictures from the project. Of course, steel never goes to waste, but in this case, they've decided that, okay, we're going to reuse some of this steel. For the needs of the project while we're working, we're going to make chairs using some of the waste or scrap steel and some of the scrap wood. We're going to reutilize some of the wood to help in the construction process. Credit H22 is what we call green certified buildings. Basically, we are saying in a Tarshid communities project, you will get extra points if you have within your project one or more building that have a green building certification. Having one building certified as a green building is actually a prerequisite with Tarshid. So you have to have at least one, or you don't get Tarshid community certification to begin with. That is, of course, if you are a new community. That condition does not apply to existing communities, as we'll see later in the following or in a coming presentation. But for new communities like this one, you have to have at least one. Now, if you have more than one, you get more points. So in this case, the Golden Gate has decided to go for EDGE certification for a number of their buildings. We are currently going through that process at the moment. Of course, as many of us know, EDGE also qualifies the efficiency of buildings in the areas of energy, water, and habitat. Currently, as we stand now, with the design of our first 5 buildings, these are the assessments that we've gotten at the moment, and that is 46% for energy, 24 or almost 25 for water, and almost 26 for habitat. And these are the actual graphs from the EDGE application. All right, so as a conclusion, so that was just a quick overview of this project. The conclusion here is basically that the construction industry really does have great potential to significantly reduce global carbon emissions by adopting sustainable practices. Tarshid communities can help developers, can help architects and builders to prioritize sustainable design and construction practices. Tarshid Communities also provides a framework to achieving net zero because it is based on net zero principles. And one last point is Tarshid Communities offers clear benefits to the triple bottom line. It makes sense both financially, it makes sense socially to each and every one of us, and it definitely makes sense to the planet and to the environment. Thank you very much.